Welcome back to New Little Life. If you're new here, my name is Allison Tolman. I'm an IVCLC and a breast pump expert and the founder of the Pumping for Working Moms program, which today is exciting because we get to talk with Kristi, who is actually one of our founding members in the program. I've known her for, I think her little one's 2 now, which is so crazy, but she's been with us for a long time and I'm really excited today for her to share her story. She was a very classic working mom, went through a lot of the stuff that working moms do, and we got to chat quite a bit during the process. So I'm excited to dive in with her. Welcome, Kristi. How are you today?
Good. Hi, Allison. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to share my story and super passionate about what you do. So just happy to be here to help other working moms as they go through the journey.
So why don't you just start at the beginning? I know even having a baby was a journey for you, but I'd really love just, a brief there and then tell us what it was like in the beginning, especially feeding that little one.
Sure. Well, like Allison said, my name is Kristi Tanaway. I am a mom of one, a little boy who just turned 2, which is so crazy. Um, my background is in biomedical engineering, and so at the time and still now, I work in R&D in the organization at Abbott in our electrophysiology division. So within the scientific community and challenging in that, I worked with a lot of men, or I work with a lot of men. So
Yeah.
a lot of people around that really didn't understand the journey and go through any of that themselves. So I had to find other ways to find that information. So as Allison mentioned, I had quite my own journey of getting to having our first child. It took a while and we went through a number of IVF cycles to get there, but super fortunate to have a really smooth pregnancy. Really nothing abnormal until birth. And so I actually decided to get induced the evening of Thanksgiving in 2021. It was by choice and it worked out fine, right? You have Thanksgiving dinner early and then go to the hospital later. It was great.
Oh, so fun.
um, and everything went relatively well, but unfortunately, I hemorrhaged during labor, and so it was kind of chaotic at the end of labor, and I didn't know at the time, with all the craziness going on, that it was pretty common for people that hemorrhage during labor to then have low milk supply,
Yeah.
and take a while for their milk to come in, and so it wasn't something I realized when we were in the hospital. You had the IBCLCs come through and the lactation specialist to help you. And honestly, my son latched great. We had no problems in the hospital. He was fussy because he clearly wasn't getting what he wanted. And so they gave us the option of whether or not we wanted to do formula or actually donor breast milk to supplement. And at that time, we decided to supplement him in the hospital with donor breast milk because we thought that was a pretty cool option. I knew going through, I actually have one older sister, and having watched her breastfeed her older children, I knew that was something I wanted to try. I was definitely on the boat of I want to feed my child. So if we have to do formula, I wasn't opposed to it, but I knew I wanted to try to breastfeed. And so we stuck with the breast milk, made it through our hospital stay, ended up actually just staying extra time for me. My little one did great. And so then when we went to leave the hospital, they're like, okay, well, you're probably still going to have to supplement for him. Like, how do you want to do it? And we're like, okay, what are our options? And they're basically well, we can sell you donor breast milk if you want to take some home. And then they gave us a list of where we could get more donor breast milk. And I think the trouble was it was $20 per, I think, 3 ounces of milk. So not very much.
Wow, that's kind of, yeah, that's expensive.
So we bought some before we left the hospital, and then we went through this one escapade of trying to get more once we were home, and then we finally realized after buying some when we were home that it wasn't sustainable. We just couldn't keep trying to figure out how to get this donor breast milk. And so that's when I started honestly trying to reach out to my IBCLCs at my pediatrician's office, trying to figure out how to increase my milk supply. But then we also decided to instead switch to formula to supplement. And so we did a couple weeks of supplementation on formula. But luckily, I was able to get in contact. We had my pediatrician's office had a IBCLC on staff. And so I was able to go in and meet with them and really get support on how to increase my milk supply. So basically, we worked on good latching, and then they had suggested starting to try to basically triple feed. So basically, feed at the breast, supplement, and then pump afterwards to try to increase my milk supply. Realized through all that times that I did a whole lot of things that I probably wouldn't do again, including using a pump that a friend had given me, because I hadn't prepped. I didn't have what I needed. And so kind of was just doing everything I could to get through that period. And so did that for weeks on end, and like finally was able to get my breast milk supply up to where I could wean him off the formula. We didn't need the formula anymore. He was getting enough from me. But then I was really just making enough. So I was just making enough to get through every day, wasn't getting, pumping anything extra, which was fine, right? We were getting what we needed. He had what he needed and wasn't fussy, and we didn't have to supplement anymore, which like removed some of the stress. So that was great. And then went through, luckily I had a pretty long maternity leave. I had about 14 weeks of maternity leave. So really enjoyed. Unfortunately, it was winter in Minnesota, so we stayed inside a bunch. But then through my maternity leave, honestly, I found Allison through all her YouTube videos, and just researching breast pumps, because I knew I would be going back to work, and I knew I'd need to pump and want to pump, and have a good pump to support that. I'll admit I'm a person that like has a really hard time making decisions when it's something that's expensive. Not because I don't have the money, but just because like it's that gut reaction of like, oh, I'm going to be spending a lot of money on this. I want it to be the best thing.
So hard too, yeah.
I probably spent hours watching all of your videos, reviewing all the different breast pumps. I think one of the things I forgot was in like all the chaos of my low milk supply, I ended up like after having watched some videos and stuff, I just like bit the bullet and bought a pump, or not bought a pump, but got my free pump through my insurance. Learned a lot in that process too that I would not do again, because I ended up just going through one of the the approved distributors, and like realized I probably should have shopped around a little bit, because different medical companies offer different options.
They do, yeah.
Ended up getting the Motif Duo, because I knew I wanted something like a little portable that I could, be able to walk around the house or, take to work with me. And unfortunately, it just like I wasn't getting really great success with it. And so then that's when I started watching the videos again to determine what should I buy next? What should be my next purchase to really support this journey? And I'm trying to remember exactly how it all happened. I think you might have had like one of your free webinars where you were.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that was when like, I absolutely remember like I couldn't grasp the concept of spending so much money on a support system. Yeah. And so like, that was why I initially hadn't reached out for the Working Moms program. And then after that webinar, like got really great advice from you. I felt like getting to know you a little bit was really helpful. And that's when I think we just connected and said, hey, let's have a side call and just see if this is the right program for you. And I really appreciated that it was something that you wanted to make sure that it was best for on both sides, right? That I was going to get what I needed and that it was the right fit for your business. And so we did that. And I realized I was like, yeah, this is what I need. I don't have the support system around me. I'm going back to work with a whole bunch of males who don't know what this is. And like, they were very supportive, right? Like I was very fortunate that I had my own office. So I could, just close the door, lock the door, and pump in my office. Like I snuck a fridge into my office so that I could have a place to store all my milk. I just put a little sign on the door. But so I had the support system there, but just not the moms around me to give me the advice and to walk me through things. So I did decide to join Allison's program. Kind of, I think it was right around when I was going back to work. So I'd already had most of my stuff, and I felt like was pretty well prepared there. But I cannot tell you enough how thankful I was for Allison throughout the rest of my journey. I ended up pumping and feeding for until my son was about 15 months old. He just decided one day that he was done, which was probably the easiest thing for me. Like it was hard for me because I was like sad for that moment, but it was the easiest like separation that like I didn't really have to wean him. He just decided one day that like, no, I don't want to nurse anymore. I'm good. And so I'll also back up 1 second. One of the reasons I had joined Allison's program was because since I went through such an infertility journey for my first one, I always thought I'd want a second child. And so but going into this, I knew I'd have to go through IVF again for my second. And part of that journey is you have to not be breastfeeding or nursing at the time because you have to take a whole bunch of hormones. And so you don't want to transmit that through your breast milk. And so I knew that to do that again, I'd have to be done with my breastfeeding journey. And with that, I also knew that I was only getting older. And unfortunately, with infertility, age is a pretty big factor. And so I joined Allison's program knowing that I wanted to try to get to the point where I could have a fair milk stash in the freezer, that if I wanted to stop breastfeeding early, that I could get my son through 12 months with a freezer stash. That was just a goal that I had.
I remember that.
In the end, honestly, I think it was probably a good goal because the whole formula shortage happened during my son's youth as well. And so it was really nice to have the peace of mind and not have to worry about that. Like, I know so many moms went through hardships with that. And I mean, I feel it very personally working for Abbott and being our company being a large contributor to that. But I was really grateful. So Allison and I started our journey trying to get that freezer stash. And to be honest, I had it. But I just ended up loving the whole time the nursing time I had with my son. It was so special to us. He loved it. I loved it. And so we just kept going. And so I decided that next child could wait, that we could see what happens when it happens. But yeah, that's kind of how my mindset changed throughout the journey as well, which I find pretty special.
It's always interesting hearing when your goals shift. I think going in, you had pretty clear goals like, we want a second baby around 9 months. I want to wean so we can start the hormones, and it's going to take a while, And, but yeah, I remember by the end you were like, you know what? I love this. And we're going to adjust. And it's so fun. You'd be surprised how many moms the journey changes as you go, and having someone that can walk you through that. Okay, so now you have this big freezer stash. Now, how do you start weaning from the pump, but still breastfeeding? Because that's the part you want to do, or whatever. I love being there with people for the whole thing, and once we get over that first initial investment, like betting on yourself and kind of saying, I want this, I want to do it right, I want to do it efficiently. I want to be there forever. And I never want you to have to think about again, like, who do I ask this question to? Or do I keep a membership? Or because there'll be months, like I remember months where I'd be like, I didn't hear from you because like things were just going well. And then one day you'd pop back in and be like, I have a problem. Like, cool, let's fix it, And I love that. And my business model is quite a bit different than most other lactation consultants, but I don't know. I like it better. And I think it works better for the working moms that we serve. So it's fun to hear your experience inside the program too. I remember chatting a lot. Did you like the weekly calls, like the Zoom meetups or the community? What did you like better?
Weekly calls were awesome. And I think that was one of the best parts of the program was like, you always knew okay, first off, you had the messaging And so like if you needed an immediate answer, like you knew you had a way to get support, both from the group and from Allison and now your team.
Feel lots in there now. Yeah.
But then you also knew you had an opportunity, one, to connect with other people. Like I loved, like I often joined the weekly calls when I could just to hear what was going on with everyone else. Like you never
Yeah.
knew you were gonna hear like a little tidbit or a trick that would help you. And it was just a way, like I said, I worked in an office with a bunch of men. It was a way to just like connect with other women who were going through the same thing. So I thought that was fun to just jump on. It was usually my lunch hour, and so I usually could join. And so I just close the door of my office and jump on for that lunch hour, eat my lunch while I was listening, and then knowing that you had the opportunity to get like personalized attention to if there was an issue that was happening at the time.
So fun. A lot of moms pump. I remember you pumped a lot during your lunch break chats with us too. And but this is super normal. So a lot of times people would take their pump breaks during the call and so everyone's pumping and like it's so fun. And one of my favorite things is I love that our community is so specific, which is a reason why we do application calls to get on because we serve working moms, because the curriculum is so specific and we want to make sure that we're not just like taking money first and we want it to be beneficial. So it's fun because everybody's doing the same thing that you're doing. And everyone has a little different scenario, but I hear that almost every week, like, oh, you were saying something to this other mom, but that made me think of me. And like, I still get that comment almost every week. So it's so interesting to me. The more women I work with, everyone needs something different. And some people really need and love that connection with other women doing the same thing. Some people really like talking it through one on one with an expert. Some people don't like calls and they utilize the community, the group forum to communicate with us and the professionals and just kind of like stay in the background getting their questions answered. And there's an evergreen curriculum too that you do on your own pace. Like it's really comprehensive and people can just kind of pick and choose what works best for them. So one of my favorite. So I always like to ask what your favorite part was because everyone's a little different there. It's kind of fun.
I think that was the calls were and the messaging quite often were super helpful because one of my biggest challenges that I ended up having, honestly, throughout the journey, but then also then like concerning towards the end when I was weaning was I had a lot of clogs. And that
Mm.
was unanticipated and oftentimes happened when I was traveling and away from my baby. And so I did travel a few times for work where I had to exclusively pump during that time. I was super fortunate that my company supported and provided milk stork so that I knew I didn't have to pump and
Awesome.
dump and I knew I didn't have to pump and carry everything. So I was able to pump and have my milk and ship it back home and know that it would be good when I got back. So that was awesome. But I think the combination of like travel and the stress of being away from my little one and then not nursing because my body was used to having that nursing time during the day. I did get a number of clogs, and I mean, I think I finally found the formula to get rid of them, but it was really stressful and painful. Clogs are really, really painful. And I know, Allison, you were super helpful. Like, that's where the messaging really came in because when you get a clog, you can't wait till that weekly
I need help
call
now. Yeah.
for the help. And so it was really nice to have the messaging to be like, what do I try? What's the thing that helps? And for those listening, I'll say I think my secret sauce was ibuprofen to help reduce
Mm.
swelling. I think that was actually one of my keys. Ice to actually again help reduce the inflammation. And then I did use the sunflower lecithin quite a bit to help thin out the those clogs. And so that was super helpful. And then getting back to my baby and letting him nurse and trying some different positions and stuff to help him get clear it. But yeah, so that was one of the most stressful parts of my journey.
If I remember right, you tried quite a few different breast pumps along the way too. Did you have any favorites or like anything you learned in kind of trying a lot of different little things?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, I got the Motif Duo through insurance. Honestly, I ended up using it very little.
Mm.
I ended up having a Spectra, And that was like my workhorse. That was the thing that I found. I found settings that really worked for me, but it was big and bulky. And so I think it was through you that you had recommended the Pumpables Genie Advanced as a good option for portables that was similar to the Spectra. And I remember getting it, but then still being kind of disappointed because it just didn't seem to be working as well. And that's where the program was huge, because we talked and you're like, send me your Spectra settings. And I sent them, and you like did all these comparisons for me and sent me back this list and said, try this on the Pumpables. And I think it actually became one of your just, deliverables that you offered
Yep.
to working.
Yeah.
But I think I was the start of that, to find the comparable settings, and I tried them, and it was like instant success. And that was awesome. And so, yeah, I think honestly, even though I like the Spectra, I probably use my Pumpables more, just because it was so convenient. So I thought I would like have a pump at work and then have a pump at home. And then the Genie Advance was so small, I just like tossed it in my bag every
Just
day.
like took it everywhere. Yeah. That's like one of my favorite things to do. I'm such a data nerd. So we had like tracking sheets, and I don't know if we ever did like milk tracking with you or not, but I just like love looking at data and stuff. So you're right. When you sent me that, I'm like, I know these pumps do something really similar. So I found the settings, sent them to you. And then I created this whole spreadsheet where you can like compare all the data that I have on all these pumps straight across. It's crazy cool. But this is my full-time job. So when my members have a question, we figure it out. And if I don't already have the resource, we make it. And it's so fun. I love learning from you guys too. What do you actually need? What's working? What's not working? And just kind of doing it all together. I don't know. I find a lot of joy in doing that. So I'm glad it's helpful too. But,
Yeah. Well, and then I think I wasn't having a lot of success with the portable pump with the cups. And so we ended up deciding to bite the bullet, and I bought a Willow Go. And so then that ended up being my like super portable pump. So like when I honestly like for travel, even when I was traveling with my son, I usually took one of the hubs, because I just like
yeah.
I knew to have the option of like if he didn't eat enough, or like if we were out and about and I needed to pump a little bit, I could just do one side at a time, even if I needed to, and that was just like super small and compact. And so those ended up working really well for me. I use them quite a bit, not on a daily basis. It wasn't my go-to, but it was like my if I needed to do anything. I actually I went to this one conference, where I was recruiting.
Mm.
Luckily, it was a women's conference, but I was recruiting at this conference, and our talent team, like even though I had told them I needed pump brakes, they were doing a really poor job of respecting that.
Um,
And they kept scheduling me over all my pump breaks. And so like I was so upset, but I just like I would toss in my Willow Goes, and I just sat there during these interviews and pumped. And I was just like,
Sorry.
noise, but I just need to do this. And these poor like college students were probably like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
That's so funny. I remember you had several kind of times like that where you just had to be like, dude, that's what I'm doing. Did you run into any problems at work? You said you worked mostly with men. Did it go pretty smoothly, or did you run into any issues there?
Work was super smooth. I will say everyone like I ended up scheduling pretty like my job is like pretty office based and pretty scheduled. And so I was able to block my calendar 3 times a day. And so I did a morning, I did a lunch, and then an afternoon. And then obviously that changed as I went through my journey and started weaning. But I was able to block my calendar. Like I said, I got a little sign that I just hung on my door. And I mean,
Mm.
the guys were pretty funny because they'd be like, oh, Kristi's doing her thing, her mom thing, right?
Yeah, doing my mom thing. That's funny.
And actually, one of my favorite stories was like our facilities person came by one time and like knocked on my door. And I was like, hello? And he's like, I just need to come in real quick and check this. I was like, can you come back? And he is like, it'll just take a minute. And I was like, and then finally I was just like, I'm pumping right now. And you could tell he just like scurried away as
Like,
fast as possible because he was so
he didn't even
excited
say anything. He just ran away.
from that, but you would listen to me.
sorry. It's so funny. The more women do this and the more it just becomes like something, the easier it gets. But it is still kind of that funny little time where, like the men couldn't even say it. Like Kristi's pumping. It's just like Kristi's doing her mom thing right now. Like, okay, whatever. Maybe in 5 more years, men will be able to say the word pumping, but
Maybe.
what do you do? It's so funny. You brought up something really interesting is just and I hear this a lot. Like I'm going back to work. My work environment is super supportive, or I have my own office, or I work from home. Like I don't need any help there. I just need help choosing a breast pump, right? And I think you're a prime example. And you kind of mentioned it at the beginning of your story. Like you came to a webinar about choosing a breast pump for working moms, and I'll put it down below the link for anyone who's listening or watching. But there's more to making this work than choosing a breast pump. And even if you choose the best one, or even the best one for you, there's a lot to this. And your experience is going to change. Like I remember you going on like, oh my gosh, I have to do a couple work trips, which I don't know if we necessarily knew that going back in, but now we have to figure this out traveling or just stuff. Now we have clogged ducts. What are we supposed to do there? Like this pump isn't working for me. Well, now what do I do? There's so it's so unpredictable. And every single mom I've talked to, it is unpredictable. Something comes up and usually many things. And so I think it's really important. You made a good point that it's more than choosing a breast pump. It's
Yeah.
figuring out how to use it correctly and efficiently. You guys don't have time to pump and waste while you're working. So we're going to do it as fast as possible and as efficiently as possible to protect your supply, especially for someone like you who really, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like you wanted to breastfeed and pumping was kind of the means to continue breastfeeding.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when I was home, I rarely chose to pump over nurse, right? Like it was pumping was a convenience, like if I had to, like we were,
Sure.
I would pump sometimes like if we were going somewhere in the car, I'd like pump in the car so that when we were out and about, like we could keep doing what we were doing and feed in the bottle and not have to like sit down and nurse. Like by no means was I opposed to nursing in public. I didn't care. And that was something I was just like really comfortable with from the beginning because you're right. And it didn't bother me. But it was more of a convenience thing. So like, we're going to the zoo or, we're doing this with family and like, it's a lot easier to like, especially as the baby got older and could like hold the bottle himself. Like you could
Yeah.
just leave him in the stroller and hand him a bottle and keep going without having you have to like sit down and manage that process. So that's more of what I used pumping for when I was around my baby. But yeah, obviously at work and travel, it was a necessity in order for me to feel comfortable as well as get the milk for my baby. So, and like to your point, Allison, about it being a journey and like it being more than just choosing a pump. Like I am originally had this mindset like I can do all the research myself. Like I can do this, especially like when you're on maternity leave, right? Because I was nursing, I had this 20 to 30 minutes every few hours where I was just sitting there. I could scroll on my phone or do whatnot, watch a video. So that's when I did watch a lot of the YouTube videos. But as you become that working mom and going back to work, you realize you don't have that time. And so it really, and that's why I think I joined like as I was going back to work, because I realized that my own time was really valuable and to like, I didn't have the time anymore just to do all the research myself and to be confident in my choices. And so like, this wasn't the only scenario where I ended up deciding like it was worth the money to spend for my own sanity, for my own time, to find an expert that could help me through it and that I like didn't have to worry about the advice that I was getting, right? Like I didn't have to triple check my sources and like make sure it was real and all of that. And so like, feeding, sleeping, and then honestly car seats. So we're the other one that like my husband thought I was nuts. He's like, why are you paying someone to tell you what car seat to buy? I was like, because it's really important. And there are so many out there. And like, I don't know what people say is actually the truth. So I'm going to pay someone I trust, just like this. I'm going to pay someone I trust to give me good advice because there's so much bad advice out there too. And it's hard to sort through when you're not the expert.
It's also just so hard to put a dollar amount, like what is that worth to you? the confidence, the knowing you're doing it right, the having an expert always there, your time. What is your time worth to you? Money. It's so hard. And I feel like there's a real disconnect, especially when like working moms go and talk to their partners about, hey, I want to make this four-figure investment on this person that's going to help me do what I'm kind of already doing, but they have no clue how hard it is or what you're going through or what's coming. And it's hard to say like my time and my confidence and my stress is worth this much money, not only that, but and that's only part of it. Like we're also feeding babies here. We're also protecting milk supplies and literally giving breast milk to your babies. But it's hard to put those dollar amounts on some of those less tangible things, and especially hard for partners to understand what the heck you're asking them to invest in.
It's a big decision at the beginning, but to your point, like one of the reasons I was excited about your model was like I knew going in that I would like a second child, and it was really reassuring to me that when that time comes, like I can just come back, like no question asked. There's no additional thought in it, that I will just be back when that time comes. It has not come yet, but
Yeah. But I'm waiting for the day where Kristi's like, I'm back. And it's going to be awesome. Yeah.
fingers crossed.
Yeah. It's just I set up this business model really intentionally. And not only are we running like a profitable business, like that's part of it, but I want really to serve the moms in the best way possible. And for me, that's like helping you work through making an investment in yourself right up front so that you never have to think about it again. And you get to have an expert with you the entire way. And there's a lot of value in that. It's just sometimes hard to help people see it, especially in the beginning when they don't know what's coming. And like, I don't know what's coming either, but I have a pretty good idea of what you're up against. And your partner probably just doesn't get it because they're not in the same world. So it's tricky, I guess, when you're kind of doing it this way. But I really firmly believe that this is the best way to support working moms like you, which is really my passion.
I still kind of like watch things here and there in the industry just because like you mentioned, I'm like super passionate about helping others too. I like kind of like glean that from you and from my time in the program that like anytime anyone at work is pregnant and they like reach out for advice, I'm like, I'm all in. Like I'm there, set up
I
lunch.
want to tell you everything I know, and I love it. Yeah.
Like I'm really excited for like if we have a second to come back to you, just because watching all the breast pump technology, like even in the past 2 years, it's changed like crazy. And the engineer in me is like, well, now which wearable is the best, right? Like which is there? When I was searching, there were two and then a third, and now I don't even know how many.
There's a lot. Yeah.
And the cost is coming down, which is incredible. But yeah, I think that'll be really exciting to explore again, and hear your advice, because like before it's like you almost could do most of your own research because it was pretty minimal, but now the industry has just exploded.
It's crazy. Yeah. And lactation consultants are still not getting trained in pumping. So it is so hard to find someone that's well versed, not only in the pumps on the market, but how to use them. And like I'm seeing more and more studies coming out on pumping and especially flange sizing. We're doing some like good studies in that area, but we're still just kind of learning. So it's so important to find someone that works with pumping parents regularly and is really well versed in how pumping works, which is not most lactation consultants at this point, I think.
Yeah. That was one of the big things that hit me with the IBCLCs that I worked with at my pediatrician's office. They were fantastic and they were really great to work with on nursing, and they supported that part of my journey. But as soon as I started your program and we worked through flange sizing, like the light bulb went off. Like they were giving me terrible advice. Like I remember that the IBCLC I worked with here had recommended like, oh, if you're having this pain, maybe try sizing up, like try the 24, the 28 millimeter. I ended up at a 15 to 19, depending on where I was like in my journey. So like that was a huge difference. And like had I taken that advice, who knows what my output would have been, and if I would have had the freezer stash that I ended up having, which was really helpful. So Yeah, I'll admit, I
Yeah.
think I still have milk in my freezer.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, it's crazy. And I won't pretend to know everything either. Like, but the world is always changing, especially in this kind of technology. So it's really important to, like I said, I get to work with moms every single day doing this, and I'm still learning stuff too, which is great. But if you don't do that often, you just kind of like throw spaghetti at the wall or be like, I don't know, this makes sense kind of, but have you ever seen it in practice? Have you ever seen it followed through to see what it works? And you can't blame lactation consultants. They're really skilled in nursing and latching, and that's what we're trained in. And I hear that often. Like I had great lactation consultants, they helped me get the baby to nurse, like, but then with the pump, they just were kind of like, I don't know, maybe try this. And so that's where I really found my passion is. And it's also hard to kind of single out working moms. I know I get questions sometimes from moms who are exclusively pumping for their babies and they stay home. And I'm like, I would love to help you too, but making it so specific and doing a quick call to make sure that you're exactly who we serve not only helps me serve in a more focused way, but also helps those who actually do come and work with us get a really big transformation, I guess you could say, because it's so specific to this one kind of thing, although there's millions of moms doing this. So I don't know. It's kind of that catch 22. I hope soon that there are more professionals versed in pumping and doing other things and serving other areas. But for me, this is really my passion is making this work at work and really supporting pumping moms this way. You guys have a lot. You're juggling a lot all at the same time. It's
And I love it because like you mentioned, like you have a profitable business and that's awesome. Like you need to have that. That's your career and your passion. But like it's very clear through your mission there that it's not just about the money, right? Like if it were just about the money, you would take everyone because you just want to take the money. And it's not about that for you. You want to make sure that you are really intentional. So you invest the time to talk with people before they invest and you will turn people away if it's not the right fit. And although that's, I'm sure, very hard to do,
it is.
it's the right thing for you and the right thing for your program to make sure that people are really getting their value out of it. And then you have a bunch of success stories. And I think that's awesome because I do feel like it was very personal. And you don't get that everywhere.
It was so fun to get to know you. And I loved just I don't know. I think sometimes you think about, especially when you watch like YouTubers, like they're just on this different level and they're like, I don't know. It's weird. I love it when I get to actually interact with moms and like I'm a working mom too. You know, my kids are out there causing problems right now. Hopefully you can't hear them, but like it's just it's fun to be in that space with other women who are doing something that I'm really passionate about. And I know a little bit more than you, so I can help. And I'm learning too, you know? And so it's just this really I love the culture and the vibe that we've built inside the program because we are really intentional. You know, I've sold $200 courses before and stuff, but how many $200 courses have you bought? I'll tell you how many I've bought that I bought and never did because it just wasn't, you know, so I know it's an investment up front and it can be hard to make that leap of faith and to bet on yourself, but I've seen that when you have more skin in the game, you're more likely to do it. And not only that, I can work with you long term. Like it's a double-sided win if you can kind of like take that risk on yourself. And I'm glad you did. And it's been so fun to get to know you. Is there anything as we kind of wrap up, any like last advice you might share for working moms? Maybe just maybe just starting this journey. Maybe they're on maternity leave or back to work or they're struggling. I don't know. What would you tell yourself 2 years ago?
Well, I'll say one more thing based off your last comments
Mm,
is that you're still learning. And I really saw that and I appreciated that. It's like it takes a lot for a professional to say, I don't know. And you were one of those people that like you weren't ashamed to admit that when I got to a question and didn't know how to resolve it. Like a lot of it was the clogged up topic. Like we got to this point where like we tried all the known things and I was
mhm.
still really struggling. And the great thing about Allison is that you're like, I don't know, but I'm gonna go do research. And like you would come back in 24, 48 hours and be like, okay, I found all this research. I think you should try this. And I really appreciate that because it goes back to the topic of like, I don't have the time and the expertise. I'm in a very scientific area. So like I read a lot of journal articles, but it's in my area of expertise,
Yeah.
not in breastfeeding. And so I really appreciated your support in that as well. And just being so dedicated to all your members that it wasn't just all the resources you had. You were willing to do more and continue to learn yourself. And I think that says a lot about your program as well. So
Yes.
as far as advice to new moms or people who are pregnant and going through this journey, I think we summed it up a lot, which is like, don't be afraid to invest in yourself, or don't be afraid to ask for help too. A lot of people, you make these registries and you get all, put all this stuff together of what people could buy you. Like, I think this is one of those things, like, you could group gift and like be like, hey, can you contribute to this fund so I can invest in this? And I think that would be an amazing present, that you like don't really realize at the time. But 4 months, 6 months, 12 months down the line, you'll look back and really appreciate, and honestly, probably one of the best investments that I made, through that journey. And one of the things I ended up using the most, right, out of the things that I
Yeah. That and your car seat. You got to get a good car seat too, like you said. You'll use that a lot too, but
But yeah, and so like, don't be afraid to ask for help. I think that's one of the biggest things is like, you feel so secluded and alone through the process of just like being at home with your baby by yourself all the time. That it's hard to reach out, and you're scared or ashamed to do so, but know that other people are going through it too. And if you have a question, someone likely had that same question. I know a number of times throughout the program, the people that respond may not be Allison. Honestly, some of the other group members like happened to be at their phone first and was like, oh, this worked for me. Or a lot of like travel situations, like I ended up sharing with the group a lot of like what worked for me, like what products I brought with me. And that was, I know, just really great for the group. You don't realize that like you sharing your own experience can be so helpful to others. So yeah, just being willing to be open and converse about these topics, I think is super beneficial both to you and others around you.
thank you so much for sharing your story today and your insights. I honestly have loved getting to know you over the last couple of years. And like I said, I'll be thrilled when you come back for baby number two and say, I'm here again, let's do this. And hopefully the next time is a lot smoother, like straight from the beginning. And if it's not, then we'll be there to support and make it work too. So thank you again so much for taking the time out of your busy work schedule to chat with us. If you want to join the program, and I probably should have said this earlier in our chat, I just got so caught up, but there is a link. You can also go to newlittlelife.com/apply and apply for the program. But there'll be links down below and everything too. So you can come join myself and Kristi and almost, I think at this point, we're about at 150 moms that have come through our program in the last 2 years, which is just absolutely crazy. But we would love to chat with you and see you there. So thanks again, Kristi. We'll chat more soon. Bye.